So I decided to do a face-to-face commentary rather than making some kind of video where I just simply narrate over it, because it's not really my forte, and I like to think that I'm pretty good at conversational style speaking. So I'll try to make this as interesting as possible. So the topic I chose to write my paper over was the Fourth Amendment and the emergence of the TSA. So for all people who don't know, the TSA was simply created basically in reaction to the events of 9/11. An entity like the TSA was likely to occur, but the way it's been executed has really been formed in a way that we could draw back to the events that happened on September 11th, 2001. So, keeping that in mind, the question we're really begging today is how exactly our rights given by the Fourth Amendment are affected by having the Transportation Security Administration practice today. So, the Transportation Security Administration has come under a lot of scrutiny since its formation. At first, it really wasn't as invasive as people would like to think. Obviously, things changed. You would have to be stopped by the TSA officials. They would have to search you. You'd probably take your shoes off in a few years after it was established. And, that thing became normalized. However, in recent years, obviously, the TSA wait times have gone pretty much insane, and a lot of people complain of the civil liberties that are being infringed upon. Which kind of brings us to the two major values that are really pitted against each other, which is the rights, the ideals of civil liberties and national security. These two values really come into conflict with the formation of the TSA. Obviously, the TSA is there to procure national security, but at the same time, they have been shown to infringe upon civil liberties. In the case of George versus TSA, the ACLU reported that George, the plaintiff in this case, was simply carrying Arabic to English flashcards as he was studying Arabic at a university, and was flagged by TSA, missed his flight, and was basically interrogated for several hours for basically just having flashcards that translated a foreign language. That happened, of course, to coincide with a foreign language and culture that was basically on a TSA watch list. So any kind of items that pertain to the Arabic culture would basically set off a red flag, and the TSA would obviously pay more attention to you. This issue really brought in a major role in issue of race. The TSA obviously looks to race as a large problem. Many people who scrutinize the TSA usually talk about the race relations it has and how it really damages minority reputation in regards to the TSA while traveling. Many people when traveling will often, of minority races, many people when traveling are often more frightened to travel due to the TSA, and the security scanning that happens just randomly fall upon these minority races. And obviously, this creates an issue. The United States being a mixing pot of people usually gets scrutinized on the topic of race relations, and the TSA doesn't really help in regards to solving this. So really the question that I kind of exposed in my paper was talking about how the issue of civil liberties and national security, while both being valuable, have really come hard down upon people of all races and infringing their civil liberties, but more specifically affecting those minority groups. So another major issue that probably needs to be tackled by the TSA in the further years of its formation really needs to be about the idea of reform. Obviously, it is in the process of reform. Many people have raised basically a big stink about it, and for the most part, it is always reforming. Despite poor numbers of catching possible terrorist weapons done in TSA screen tests, the TSA is, while slowly, getting better, and which is a good sign. So obviously, while in the present there is not a lot that can be done, it is very bright to look out in the future. So thanks for listening. If you have any questions, I'll obviously be in class to answer them. So.